So yeah, I'm going to tell you about making it pop on the iPhone market. So you got 300,000 paid apps. How do you make yours stand out? We had pretty obvious key things that we thought. You have to have a strong icon. You need to have a very good viral marketing campaign. And then most importantly, you got to get the golden ticket from Apple and get a featured spot. On the App Store, there's definitely not an equal distribution of wealth. If you're outside the top 100, you're not making any money. This is why, like yesterday, I was telling the students, aim for multiple different markets. If you get big in, say, Sweden or Finland, you'll be making more money from being in the top 10 there than you will be from being outside the top 100 in the US. I also was saying, I didn't actually add this to the presentation, but to get big in smaller markets, it's not actually that difficult. Like in Denmark, for instance, there was 2 Danish language blogs. I got on Google Translate. I sent an email to those blogs, coordinated that they both did a press release on the same day with our game, went up to 6th place in the charts, and stayed there. And proof of concept is what we brought later on to Apple to actually get featured later on. And also, I mean, we did little shiesty tricks like Finland. It took about 10 downloads to get to #1. So we just told our friends to download the game. And it worked pretty effectively. All right, how to stand out in the crowd. Well, you got to have a great game. Thank you, Jaakko. Have an iconic character. Because without an iconic character, you can't build a brand. And when you have a chance to make it big, take it. We found out in January that we were going to get featured by Apple. So we took lots of steps to make sure that we took advantage of that release. We made a light version. We made the best video at the time for any iPhone game. And actually, I don't think many of you would know, but Angry Birds was $1.99 at one point, and we dropped the price. All in the space of 3 days to make a real big launch. So this is what happens when Apple features you. Our sales were, let's say, maybe 100, 200 a day. And then I think it was 15,000, then 20,000, then, I don't know, maybe 50,000 now per day. Yeah, probably more, actually. So taking off, Apple featuring, really you have to aim for that. So when you go up to go up to Apple with a proof of concept, when you're big in multiple different countries, they can feature you, and that's what you need to actually really break out on the iPhone market.